Hey, Station Camp Elementary Bison. My name is Josh Willhite, and I am the father of Alton Willhite, a first grader there at Station Camp Elementary, and also husband to Kara Willhite, who is a fourth grade teacher there at Station Camp. And my job is a strength and conditioning coach, and I work here at Vanderbilt University, and I've been here for the last 5 years. Part of my responsibilities here as a strength and conditioning coach at the collegiate level is that I work with 4 of our 14 teams. I work with women's lacrosse, women's swimming, women's golf, and women's tennis. And I work with all 4 of those teams in the weight room. So it's my job as a strength coach to get these athletes stronger, to get them faster, and also to make sure that we do some exercises that protect them from common injuries in their sports. So really my role is to enhance their athletic and physical performance for their sport. One of the aspects of my job that I absolutely love is that no one day looks like the next. Every day is just a little bit different. So since my job is to take those 4 teams that I talked about through workouts and to take them through their lifts, their lifting schedule is going to be dictated by several different things. So first of all, their class schedule. Obviously, if they have classes during the day, then I can't lift with them at that time. So it's either got to be before classes or after classes. Another thing that will dictate when I come in and lift with the teams is their practice schedule. Obviously, if they're practicing their sport, then they're not lifting their weights at that time in the day. So I have to work around their practice schedule. And then the third thing is obviously their competition schedule. I have to take into consideration when they're playing a tournament or when they're playing a competition and when they're leaving for that, and need to make sure that they're ready to compete. So again, that looks different with each team, and then that looks different from semester to semester. So from spring to fall, it would look different for each team. So no one day looks exactly like the next, and I like that variety. I like keeping things mixed up, and I don't like feeling like I'm doing the same thing over and over again all the time, which is really nice. So again, primarily my job is to design workouts for the teams here in the weight room, which looks a little bit like this.
3, 2, 1, and go! Big bends, 3, 2, 1, go! Good. Big jump, big shoulder. One more. Good. That way you come straight down and straight back up and not worry about those steps. Okay. Boom. Two jumps.
But also secondarily, my role is to warm up my teams for their practices and for their competitions. These are usually conducted outside on a field or indoors on our indoor turf area, like the videos shown here.
Walking ham stretch 15, and then facing this direction, reverse lunges 15. Here we go. Stretch out. Switch it up, left side, left side.
The education that was needed for me to get to the position that I'm in today was obviously to graduate from high school and then graduate from a 4-year college, getting a 4-year degree. And most people who go into this field will either choose something like sports medicine or exercise science. I didn't know this is what I wanted to do, so I got a degree in psychology. I thought that's what I wanted to do. Didn't end up doing that. I chose this instead. So I got my master's degree, which was after my 4 years in college. I got another 2 years of college in exercise and nutrition science. It was a degree that took physical fitness and took nutrition and eating properly, and kind of blended the two together, combined the two. And that's what I got my master's degree in. So 6 total years of college. and it's not required, but it did help that I went into the military for 6 years. I was in the Marine Corps infantry for 6 years, and I've just always had a passion for fitness. This is definitely one of those professions that you have to really enjoy staying in shape and being fit if this is what you want to pursue. And if it's not what you want to pursue, or if you're not in shape and it's not something that you're interested in, it'll show up pretty quickly, and your athletes will pick that up, and you might not be a very effective strength coach. So being physically active and knowing a thing or two about sports is helpful as well. So next up, I'd like to discuss how in my profession as a strength and conditioning coach, I use math, science, and the 4 C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. All right, first up, I want to give you guys an example of mathematics. I'll give you guys 2 simple examples of how I use math as a strength coach. The first one is, let's say, for example, if you're looking at the picture, I have an athlete who I know can lift a weight that's equivalent of 225 pounds, and they can do that one time. We call that their 1 repetition max. Well, let's say I want them to lift a certain percentage of that weight for our lift for that day. And let's say I want to work up to 85% of that 1 repetition max of 225 pounds. What I would need to do is I would take that load, 225 pounds, and then multiply it by 0.85, because we're talking 85%, so I have to change that percentage to a decimal, 0.85, and that gives me the number of 191.25. Well, I run into a problem as a strength coach because I can't make that weight 191.25 pounds because all of my weights that I have in the weight room are rounded to 5 pounds. So what do I need to do? I need to take that number, 191.25, and I need to round it to the nearest 5, which would give me 190 pounds. So I know that for that athlete, for that particular day, if I want them to lift 85% of their 1 rep max, I need to convert the percentage to a decimal, and then I need to go ahead and round the product, or the result, to the nearest 5, which gives me 190. That's the first example. So the second example I want to give is how we conduct warm-ups in our weight room. We have a long strip of turf that we like to use to warm up our athletes in a static position. That means they don't move anywhere. They just kind of stay there and they do their warm-ups in that particular area. And this particular piece of turf is 20 yards long and it's 5 yards wide. Well, because of our social distancing protocols that we have to follow here in the weight room, we have to keep everybody how far apart? Yeah, you guessed it, 6 feet, right? 6 feet apart. So what do I have to do? What I have to do is, if I want to keep everybody on the turf to warm them up, I want to figure out how many athletes I can fit on that turf and still abide by our social distancing protocols. So if I take 20 yards by 5 yards, what I want to know is how many athletes can I put there? So I have to convert my yards to my feet. So I now look at the turf as being 60 feet long and 15 feet wide. So if I do my conversion, I look at, well, if I've got 60 yards to work with. If I divide that by 6 yards, that gives me 10. And of course, can I put 10 on the front and 10 in the middle and 10 in the back? I could, but for our purposes, we usually just go 10 at the front and 10 at the back. But how I knew that I could put 20 athletes there was that I had to first convert yardage to feet and then divide by 6 feet. So I take my 60 divided by 6, and it gives me 10. Next up, let's talk about science. As a strength coach, everything I do to the human body, to the human organism, happens at a cellular level, which means that I'm trying to make changes to muscle fibers at a very, very small level, and I'm doing that in a very big way, using weights, using movements, using exercises, things like that. But as a strength coach, I need to know the science behind it. I need to know what exercises are best for my athletes, which ones are most effective, and which ones can bring the results the quickest. And so I need to find out which of those things that I can do with and to the athlete make the biggest change at the smallest level. That's the muscle fiber level. Okay, real briefly, I want to touch on the 4 C's. First of all, communication. I have to be able to effectively communicate with athletes, with the coaches, and also with athletic trainers. Those are the people that deal with our injured athletes. Also, collaboration. I have to be able to collaborate with those athletic trainers and talk about the needs for the athletes in the weight room. So if they're suffering from some kind of a leg injury, I need to find out the exercises they can do and the ones that they can't do. So I have to collaborate with the athletic trainer to find out those exercises that are going to be effective for the injured athletes to get them healthy again. In terms of critical thinking, I have to be able to, as a strength coach, take a lot of very scientific-y kind of journal articles of people doing research with the human body, with exercise science, and I have to be able to interpret the results that all these scientists come up with and be able to apply that to the weight room. So I have to think critically about that. And then also creativity. I have to be able to find certain exercises that fit certain athletes. So if an exercise doesn't work with one athlete, I have to be able to think creatively on the spot to figure out an exercise that does work with that athlete so that we can get through our workouts effectively. And everything that I do is just a small piece of a larger part of the puzzle that makes sure that the athletes' bodies are prepared and ready, and that their minds are right to compete and to win.
Ramping up and get ready for Notre Dame. Check? All right, hey, great practice today. We'll have a lighter lift tomorrow compared to yesterday, and we'll just keep getting after it. Good to go? Hey, bring it in. Team on three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Team! Good job.